We make to the floor at this point in time only entitled the best man, right? Jonathan Morgan, and I've been seeing Morgan working on the speech for a while, so I know it's going to be great. Round of applause, please, to the best man, Jonathan Morgan.
Good evening, everyone. I hope not to keep you longer than 10 minutes. And I know that you will be a little bored with the words that I convey, but they are conveyed genuinely and conveyed from the heart. So I've known Ken since around 2006. And when we met, our journey began with an event management business partnered with Stefan and Amani. And that was the beginning of the planting of the seed of our friendship. A friendship that grew, a friendship that thrived through failed business ventures, through my relocation out of Trinidad in 2009. It continued to blossom through our career changes, Ken's development of his digital marketing business, my journey into another career field, and yet we remained close. Over the past decade and a half, we lived about 18,000 miles apart. Yet Ken was the best man at my wedding, and I am the best man at his. And what that type of relationship says about Ken is that, first, he is very selective about the members of his inner circle. You've heard from Amani already that most of us have been in his life for around 20 years, and we continue to journey with him. The second thing it says is that on Ken's part, he certainly has the spirit, the personality, and the vision to carry a friendship and a relationship the distance. 20 years is the beginning of the journey he has shared with his groomsmen, and likely a drop in the bucket to the journey he will share with Chenade. I can say that being friends with 20 years is still a unique experience. It's not something that we can take lightly. For those of you who know him, you know that it is particularly unique just to have a conversation with him. Talking with Ken isn't a back and forth, it's an experience. A conversation with Ken would have plot twists, it will have chapter breaks, it will have closing arguments, and at the conclusion of this conversation, he is very likely to say, in a nutshell, yeah, you are right. But that's the personality that he has. And you don't even need to ask a question to get a 15-minute explanation out of him. He's the type of person to carry a monologue into every dialogue, even if it relates to seating arrangement for a particular wedding. But it also shows the dedication that Ken invests into anything that he participates in. It shows the level of attention, the level of detail that he applies to the tasks in his life. And I can say one of my earliest memorable experiences with Ken was attempting to host an event together around 15 years ago. A couple of you in the audience may remember something glowing in the dark on an office rooftop. And it was Ken's pitch to the group in relation to hosting this event that seemed outlandish. It seemed so ambitious that the rest of us, Stefan and myself, would have to be the voices of reason. We would have to introduce some practicality. You know, a little something like reality, a little something like physics, budget constraints, for example. I don't know if he's ever heard of it. We would have to introduce these things because Ken, as a person, is a visionary. He's a big picture guy. He sees the dream, he sees the intention, and he needs the team behind him for implementation. That's really who he is. That experience in, I think it was around 2008, 2007, 2008. That experience allowed us to learn some of Ken's magic. Because notwithstanding the outlandish dream that was connected to hosting this event, notwithstanding how unrealistic it was, the event was a massive success. This is an office where events of this nature are never held, and somehow Ken executed it. With the team behind him, he was able to bring his vision into reality. And this is a bit of that magic that he demonstrated in his earlier years. Ken, from 2006, demonstrated a personality that was intense, creative, dramatic when required, dramatic when not required. He showed somehow passionate interest in certain things while maintaining some emotional distance. It is quite true to say that Ken is also impatient with some things. He was impatient with small-mindedness, for example. And he is quite dismissive, and he certainly was quite dismissive in those years when he thought he was right. And we are speaking honestly about the person we got to know. So Ken demonstrated these traits from as early as 2006, and most importantly, he demonstrated a serious drive to accomplishing his own goals. When he had a vision, he would put his everything into accomplishing it. He had an uncanny ability to rally individuals around him. For some reason, Ken had this capability to say, we are going to do something on Sunday. And we all say, Sunday is 2 days away. How would that be possible? And on Sunday, there are 50 people doing the thing that Ken envisaged. That was his gift. But with his gift came some harshness. With his gift came some difficulty. With his gift came some emotional management that was necessary. As a person who saw the big picture and thought everything was possible, he would expect a lot of all those he interacted with. So this is the composition of the man who then met Chenade in 2015. Their meeting, somewhat coincidental, related to a photograph posted online from, I think, a drone. And it would be, of course, Ken to commence a romance, aerial videography. Following that interaction, some exchanges on social media, Ken asking Sinead in a not so subtle way, do you model? As if he isn't just trying to connect with her in some manner. Sinead telling him no, abruptly, and the conversation falling silent. For any other man, that would be a hint, and he would take the hint and walk away. But Ken is not such a man. He's not the type of man who will let things fall aside when he had other ideas. So when Sinead reached out with a certain business venture, Ken took the opportunity to entirely avoid the business question and to ask her out. And it was that initiative on his part that allowed the sparks to fly. So they went out, they got to know each other, and the relationship began. Over the years, I noted that Ken's personality began to change. His demeanor, the difficult aspects of who he was, began to soften. So, from overseas, listening to long voice notes and extended explanations and life updates, I began to learn a little bit about Chenade. Chenade, meticulous, brilliant, calm, structured. Currently a corporate banking advisor with a mind sharp enough to correct numbers and a heart soft enough to correct Ken. The story, which we all know, developed and blossomed into the relationship that we see before us. After months and years of their courtship, I think Ken spirited up the courage to take it a step further. Many of us in the room were waiting for the announcement of their engagement. And bit of news that I think could not have come sooner. I believe that the celebration that we have before us is not just a celebration of longevity and not just a celebration of love, but it's a celebration of a union of unique personalities. It's a celebration of balance. You see, over the years, I witnessed Ken become more grounded, become more thoughtful. I noticed that he had become more intentional. I've seen him articulate his dreams with new clarity, and it's not because they were smaller, not because his vision for events, his vision for business had become simpler, but it was because he now had someone he could dream with. He also had someone, quite candidly, who would audit his dreams. Chenade filled that void in his life, that void that required some level of regulation, and quite candidly, some adult supervision as well. So it was my pleasure over the years to visit Trinidad on summer vacations and Christmas occasions and have the interactions with Sinead as I got to learn her personality. And in those moments, I could see in Sinead's eyes that even her own demeanor would soften when she heard Ken speak. I could see the way she held space for his ideas. I could see the way she brought structure to his chaos. And she quieted the instability that came with his chaotic dreams. So when Ken dreamt large, and when his dreams were uncertain, Chenade was there to ensure that they were regulated. And I think it is that dynamic, that balance between the two, that allows me to say that I have never in my life envisaged a partner more suitable for this man than Chenade. Before I close, allow me to shift gears for a moment because I think celebrations like this require a lesson, something that the bride and groom can take away beyond the evening. And my lesson, if they would permit me so kindly, is that love is not a moment that you feel. It is a decision you make. It is choosing again and again to give the best to your partner before taking for yourself. It is the discipline of commitment, the courage of patience, and it is the quiet, persistent work of putting your partner first. You don't do this because you have to. You do it because you want to. Because nothing would bring you greater joy than to seeing them become the best version of themselves. So Ken and Chenade, I have seen you embody this principle. I've witnessed it myself. Those subtle moments when Ken would cover Chenade from drops of rain. Those moments when Chenade would gently bring him back when he began to spiral. The way you both listen, the way you adjust, and the way you compromise. I've seen you lift each other, and that is truly rare. So, in this beautiful moment, remember that the foundation of marriage is a decision to continue to serve each other, a decision to put that partner first. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate this wedding, as we celebrate a partnership that honors patience, vision, values effort, and chooses love, let us raise our glass. Let us acknowledge the couple. Ken, my brother, I am truly proud of you. Chenade, thank you for loving him so gracefully and with such intention. And to both of you, may your marriage be filled with laughter big enough to match Ken's personality, with calmness strong enough to match Chenade's spirit, and with commitment deep enough to outlast every challenge that life may bring. To Ken and Chenade.
One more time for the best man, Jonathan Morgan, ladies and gentlemen.